What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
Now, Miguel.
And this is part 2 of our Halloween horror highlights series. Halloween 2 from 1981. More of the night that he walked
Again.
as slowly as humanly possible to really emphasize the fact that he's supposed to move slowly.
This was a start of, damn, he can't die.
Even though here's the weird thing about the movement thing, and this is not a knock on Dick Warlock because I like Dick Warlock and I think he, we actually got to listen to him. We got to listen to him speak at Scarefest last year, which was awesome. But like Nick Castle didn't move that slowly in the OG. Like it's almost strange sometimes, and it's not all the time, but like there are some scenes in the hospital, man.
Mm-hmm.
Bro is like a tortoise. He is crawling around. Like Laurie could have been in Massachusetts by the time like he got down the hallway. I mean, I don't know. It's weird, but we love Dick.
Favoring every step.
He was.
We all stand Dick.
One of these moments I'm getting ready to talk about is one of my top 3, but there's one moment. There are moments where it works, the walking slow thing, because it exudes this like overly confident, like I'm gonna get you no matter what. But so this is gonna be our top 3 moments from Halloween 2, 1981. The most important question right now: what's in your burrito? Give us the rundown of your Qdoba burrito right now.
It is Dick. First off,
Dick, okay. You're eating. Oh my God, you're eating Dick. He's eating Dick's dick.
Yeah, right I'm eating Dick Warlock's dick in this flour tortilla wrap.
God.
No, it's a chicken burrito.
Chicken? Just chicken?
Yep. Straight chicken and tortilla. Because why? Why pay extra for other stuff?
Solid. Be a little dry. You need some queso or sour cream or guac or something in that.
No, you don't.
Dry.
No, you don't.
Whatever. Be like the kid in HD who bit the razor blade, bro. His mouth was gushing.
Jesus Christ.
That scene always really bothered me. Like, I always forget it's in there, and then every time I watch it, I'm like, ooh. Like, could you could you even fathom what that would be like? Can
you imagine that, like, for one, like, razors and candy has been going on since, like, the 80s?
It has.
It's pretty sad.
Just like it takes a special kind of douchebag to put a razor blade in an apple. Like, screw you if you're a kid who does that. Anyways, top 3 moments from Halloween 2. This is a movie that I can watch Halloween 2 anytime. It is maybe for me, I don't know, some people would disagree with this. There's a lot of people out there that think H2 is kind of boring. And in some ways it is. But there's just this atmospheric thing. I've said this before, and I think I said it on a live stream a few years ago, and people started coming at me in the chat like I was insulting it. Halloween 2 is a movie that, like, whether I'm like doing something around the house or whether I'm, doing like working on show stuff or whatever, I can throw on Halloween 2 and be like, I'm good. Like I'm content. I can just sit and chill and watch Halloween 2. Like I've seen it a million times. I don't have to sit and like lock into what's happening. Like I can have it on in the background and still enjoy it. And some people were like, "Oh, that means you don't really like it." And I'm like, "That's not the case. I actually really, really like Halloween 2. There are other entries in the franchise that I kind of have to be in the mood for. Like, if I'm, if I'm watching, Halloween 6, or if I'm watching H2O, or if I'm watching Resurrection, because I have to have like 6 shots before I can sit down to watch that movie. Trick or treat, mother. But yeah, it's just it's not really an insult. It's a movie that I really like and that I've seen a lot and that I can watch anytime, like the original. It's just as rewatchable as the original for me, personally.
Yeah, I feel like if you were the one that like always has it playing in the background when you're cleaning, I mean, there'll be parts where like you'll see your moment and you're just sitting here like this.
Yeah, like you're sitting there like folding clothes, and then you're like,
yeah.
And then that moment passes, and you're like, okay, I can go back.
Right, cool.
You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of rewatching movies.
Yeah, dude, horror movies and midday naps. Like, great. It is
Never done that before.
Fire combination. I love it. It's awesome. So,
I'm glad you find it
I'm
sauceable.
I am 98.9% positive I can guess one of your top 3 moments. So, do you want to hit us with your with one of your top 3? Now, if you're new to this series, we don't typically do these in any kind of an order. This is just, just our top 3. If we had to pick 3 moments and 3 moments only from the movie, these are the top 3 that we would pick. So, hit us with your number 1. Your number one.
Well, my number 1 isn't going to be like my top. It's just the first one that comes to mind first off.
Okay.
And the moment that stand out to me, first off the bat, was in fact Ben Tramer.
I knew
just right off the bat.
I knew it.
It's going to be Ben.
That's actually the first one I was going to say too. So,
yeah. Let's start off with a blast, which is what Ben did.
Here's what I love about the Ben Tramer sequence. First of all, back when we started the channel 3 years ago, and we were 3, 4. My God, how long have we been doing this? 4.
No.
Holy crap!
COVID. I think it's about to be 5 by December.
Whew. Wow, you're right. That's pretty wild. So back when we started the channel and we were doing audio commentaries, we didn't do video when we did commentaries. When we started the channel and we were doing audio stuff, I told Miguel there was a scene that in Halloween 2. It was the first time he'd ever seen Halloween 2, and I was like, "There's a scene here that's gonna blow your entire mind." Like it literally, and his reaction, I will never. That's maybe one of my favorite moments in almost 5 years of doing the channel, because even though it's an audio podcast, you can hear his entire body react when the police car slams into him and it explodes. It's one of my favorite Miguel moments ever, I think. But that scene, it showcases the chaos and the panic of what's happening. And that's what I like about it. You've got Loomis and Brackett's still not 100% on board that this is happening. You've had the 6 times thing where Michael's kind of injured watching him from the alley. We've had, the cops are going around checking everything and whatever, and Loomis is panicking, but the cops aren't fully panicking yet, and Loomis sees this dude in a white mask, and he's got a pillowcase or whatever, which, first of all, let's talk about that. I mean, bro, why would Michael suddenly be carrying a pillowcase full of candy and then
I don't
just
know.
casually
at that time we didn't know anything about at that time we didn't know anything about Michael. So he could very well that could have been a weapon.
It's just funny. He decided
could have been
to
filled
stop
with knives and shit.
Psychotic murdering spree and just go get some candy while walking. I don't really feel like killing anybody anymore. I want a Snickers. But Loomis is obviously panicked. Brackett's trying to grab him, and Brackett's grabbing him, and he's trying to panic or whatever. Loomis is pulling out his gun, which there's teenagers still trick or treating. The night is still young, and that's when Ben kind of casually does his he's looking back at him, and then of course bro gets smacked by the cop car and then slams into the van and it bursts into flames, and it's pretty crazy, honestly, and it's definitely compared to anything that happened in the last movie, it's oh, we're doing this, okay.
Well, it's a pretty big step from the
it is
what's it called, the normal serial killer vibes that we were getting in the first one, where he was just stalking around, but instead it was just straight up action packed. I was not expecting explosions and that to that severity in a 80s horror film, and I think it was just hilarious coming off of Halloween, the original Halloween, and then coming to Ben Tramer pretty much exploding in our faces. It was damn.
Right. Well, but again, it shows you the chaos and the unraveling of the town throughout the night, and the unraveling of Loomis, and the things that are happening, like you kind of realize, like, holy crap, like this is like the cops are panicking, Loomis is starting to panic, there's this awful thing now that like you don't even know if you just murdered the right person, like, and it turns out of course it wasn't the right person.
Well, they knew
like,
it wasn't the right person from the get-go.
Well, they questioned it though, and they were like, we have to be sure. Which that it's funny because like I love the moment when Brackett's yelling at, is it him? Is it him or not? Like he's screaming at him, and like Loomis just gives him this look of like, how I don't know. Like how am I supposed to know like whether or not he's pinned up against a van
it's on
and
fire?
It's like there's gasoline and flames engulfing everything. And then of course,
well, at that time, Brackett didn't know that.
Right.
That his daughter was pretty much just slashed. So
that's when Hunt comes over and he's like, Chief, you can't even audibly tell what he's saying. You can, but he's just like, and Brackett's like, what? And then they get in the car. It's just funny. You know what I love about that moment too, though, is Loomis gives him this look of like. He doesn't even look at Brackett. Like, as soon as Brackett's screaming at him, there's other cop cars pulling up. People are, like, staring, and, like, there's crowds gathering, whatever. And Loomis has this look of, like, he just goes...
Yep.
And just rubs his eyes, and you see this look on his face of, like, I'm going to prison, aren't I? Like, it's just... It's the perfect incarnation of what... of what's happening in Haddonfield and the unraveling and the panic that's starting to set in, and it's nuts.
It wasn't even Michael that caused the unraveling. It was solely Loomis that did it.
Mob.
Yeah. It was literally Ben Tramer blowing up because nobody cared. Yeah. No one known about the killings or anything of that nature until Ben Tramer just blew up, and they're like, "Oh God, an explosion! Let's all go back home."
If Loomis would have looked at Ben Tramer and been like, "Hey man, can we talk to you for a sec?" Like that would have been none of that would have happened. But instead, Loomis Loomis saw White Mask and immediately pulled out his revolver, like he just immediately started, like full force. I'm gonna shoot whoever this person is.
And he didn't think that worked in the first time too, because like, just as soon as he saw Michael, he just shot him. Yeah. And he was like, well, next time I'm just going to do it again. Like, no questions asked.
Wasted zero time in getting ready to blast him again. But, it's a hell of a sequence, man. And it's definitely a step up from anything that happens in the first film. There's nothing that huge. And again, it's what makes the first film so good, that it's so low-key and so stealthy and low-key. And, like, it's not this huge bombastic like dropping bodies all over the place. It's this small intimate thriller between a small cast, and that's what makes it good. But again,
you can tell in the sequel that they had a bigger budget, like 100%.
Right, and that they needed to step it up. Like I think that was definitely a common theme. They felt like they needed to push it more and make it something a little bit bigger and more bombastic. So definitely the Ben Tramer scene is that was a given. That was going to be in one of my top 3, and I figured it would be one of yours as well. So I'll go next. My second favorite scene from this from this film is really a sequence. It's not a singular moment. It's the sequence when Laurie is drugged up still, and I'm going to be real. I don't vibe with Laurie as much as I do in the first. Which, granted, she is literally meant
wig.
to be. She is, yes, with her wig, but also she's meant to be drugged up. Like she's supposed to be high, and I get that, but she spends so much of the movie just kind of like. Like, she's just even
ketamine out of her mind.
Exactly. And at one point, the sequence I'm talking about is the chase scene when Michael and Laurie first interact for the very first time, when he stabs the nurse with a scalpel and picks her up, which again, huge step up from anything that we saw Michael do in the first film.
Yes.
But, and Bob was different. I know he does pick up Bob, but Bob, he had one arm on him and kind of strong-armed him and then stabbed him. Bro literally had a scalpel and picked a human up one-armed with that scalpel, which is pretty wild. But, the nurse finds Laurie. Laurie's kind of laying on the ground, and she slumps over and looks up. And again, she's got her, like,
Still
And
drugged, not really understanding the fact that old girl just started levitating by a scalpel.
Yeah, and Michael steps around her, and of course she picks her up. He picks her up and just drops her, like she just like drops her like she's nothing. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. But anyways, he drops her, and that's when this chase sequence begins. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the show, where sometimes the slow movement works, and it kind of portrays this super confident, like, I don't have to be fast to get you because I will somehow get you. But of course, Laurie takes off.
Well, that's where I think that's primarily like what is the typical trope of like a lot of horror icons is like, I don't really need to chase because like, the script will allow me to get to where you are within like however long you are.
Yeah. I've got plot armor. You don't. That kind of thing. But that sequence leads into one of my favorite shots of Myers from the entire series. And actually, it's one of my favorite things about Rob Zombie's remake of this film. He recreated it really well. There's a shot where Laurie's kind of falling down the stairs and not tumbling, but she's struggling. Her leg was injured. Like, she's struggling to get down the stairs. She finally makes it out. And there's a shot as if you are standing like on the bottom of the landing in the stairwell, and Myers is walking down towards you, but he's not, typically when you're walking down a flight of steps, right? You're looking at your feet, you're looking at the steps you're walking on. His eyes are just straight forward as he's moving down the stairs. And that is one of my favorite shots ever. And he's moving slowly, he's moving confidently, he's not in a rush. It's just this really, really weird, eerie moment, and it's something that Rob Zombie recreated, and it's a split second and it's over, but there's a scene of Tyler Mane as Michael walking down the stairs, which I go back and forth, but I still think that's probably my favorite look for Myers of all time, the hospital sequence from H2, which I have that mask. It's hard to see, but it's over here on that other lamp on the edge. But
did you add some more cuts to it? Or is that a different mask?
Huh?
Did you add more cuts to it, or is that a different mask?
No, I've got my kills down here, which you can't really see, but I've got it's the H2. You're just seeing the white side of it. The bloody side is on the other side, facing the poster. But it's just I love that mask and I love that sequence. Anyways, back to this movie. But Myers kind of chases her, and then once they get into the basement, there's another sequence where you see his mask like in red light as he's walking towards the elevator. Like, there's some really, really cool. I mean, it's not the most action-packed sequence. Like, they don't really fight or interact in that sequence. He's just chasing her through the hospital. But there's some really, really, some of the most special shots of Michael in that movie, I think, are in that sequence. Whether it's him picking up the nurse, or him coming down the steps, or him walking through the basement, you're seeing the red light kind of radiating around the mask. Like, I don't know. I've always really enjoyed that sequence. That, as we talked about earlier, that's one of those moments where I'm like,
that you're just standing still.
I have to stop what I'm doing and actually pay attention, because I really do. I enjoy watching that sequence. And of course, Laurie's trying to get away, and she's like,
still drugged up all the hell. I gotta say, I'm glad you kind of enjoyed that, but that person wasn't really my favorite part. Like, I think the story of like the character of Laurie in this one just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed kind of weak, kind of like just there, and didn't really help push anything in the story. Yeah,
I agree. And it's not that wasn't necessarily Jamie's fault. That was I don't think she was as nearly as well written in this one as she was in the first one. Not
100% agree. Like, I don't even think I think it was primarily just a check that she was getting in this one, because like she really didn't have much to say in this one.
She didn't, and again, I get it that she's high and she's she's drugged out, like she's had surgery, whatever they did to her, but like the most emotion we see is when we get weird pedo Jimmy walking in there, and he's like, "You want a Coke?" Like, that's pretty. And she kind of smiles, and she's kind of her giddy self for a minute. But other than
Yeah.
that, she kind of doesn't really have a lot to say until the very end when there's like the final confrontation with her and Loomis. So I don't know. Laurie, yeah, I agree with you. Laurie didn't. It's almost like she's just there to run away through the
Yeah.
majority of the movie.
Like the writers were really expecting a lot from us as the viewers for this film, like expecting us to like
Right.
had already known what Halloween 1 is, and like I don't even know how it works. Like maybe I don't know. Do you think Halloween 1 was like in VHS by the time Halloween 2 came out? I don't think so. It's pretty recent.
They literally came out what a year, 2 years apart. So I mean, I
Yeah.
probably would have been. I would assume it would have been.
Like by the time like things were like already like released for like VHS, like they were already like making another one. So like
I would, yeah. I mean, this went into production pretty quickly after the first one was such a hit. But yeah, I don't know. I go, excuse me, I go back and forth sometimes because on one hand, there's sequences of the quieter sequences of this film add to the balance of like you're seeing the chaos of like everybody at the Myers house, the mob, the tribe at the Myers house, and everybody throwing rocks, and the chaos of Ben Tramer's blowing up and Loomis is running around and the cops are running around and there's crowds of people gathering. Like there's that, but there's also like that's like juxtaposed and like counteracted with these moments of like Laurie is in an empty hospital in a room by herself crawling around on the floor, like so. And I enjoy those moments, but there's also the other side of it where it's like there's so much of this movie where nothing really happens, and I think that's where some people get a little annoyed with it sometimes. And I understand both sides. I go back and forth. Again, I like it, and I think I'm okay with what was in there, but you could have definitely cut probably at least 5 minutes out of this movie of like things that just didn't necessarily need to be in there, if that makes sense. So,
I agree.
Even we could have had the sister reveal with when Marion says,
don't get me started on that one. That one's the like sister.
The sealed
series.
file
Like,
that like Loomis was never allowed to see. It was sealed by a judge after he was arrested and whatever, But like you still could have done that and it'd be a plot twist. But like when Laurie is all drugged up and she starts hallucinating like him writing sister and stuff when he was a kid in Smith's Grove, like I don't know. That's the kind of thing I'm like, I don't need to see that. Like, I don't, if you want to show me empty shots of streets and alleyways in the city or, Michael walking around the hospital or the security cams, whatever, okay. But like, that's the kind of thing with the sister stuff. I was just like, we don't need to see that in order for you to throw that plot twist in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. And honestly, I really wouldn't even cared for that extra storyline because personally, the way the movie was going from the first one, it honestly it would have been just as entertaining if it was just Michael continuing to go after Laurie for the sake of
probably
Laurie got away. Like, and that
I would agree.
The sister story literally would not have added anything or taken away anything from the movie in itself. If that was, I'd say that 5 minutes you're thinking of is probably going to be that story of Laurie being the sister of Michael. It's like, yeah, all that could have been gone in. The movie would not have changed its
fair
emphasis or its impact in the whole perspective of the movie.
Yeah, I get it. I'm with you there. What was your number 2?
Let me think. I'd say my number 2 would be I would say, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the needle eye by the doctor.
Ooh, that wasn't even. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's a good moment. I actually really like that, and that's another really great shot that kind of mimics the dimmer switch thing from the first film. That's a good one, Miguel. Damn.
Yeah, and it was just. Well, yeah, it's the kills essentially. Like the kills are getting more I guess,
visceral.
gruesome,
Yeah.
more violent, I suppose, because like, in the first one it wasn't necessarily that bloody, except for
It wasn't.
what's her name in the car.
Yeah, it's not a very bloody
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. But that one was definitely one of those where they really turned up I guess not necessarily the body horror, but just
You
the
turned up the
gore,
ante. You
the
turned up the
ante.
ante.
Yeah.
But
So it was just a
that's
close
a
up.
really good one.
It was a close up of the needle going into the side of the temple, and I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because we all hate needles. What a great
Well,
use
there's
of our fear.
also I love the reveal of that too when she walks in there, and she's calling for the doctor. The wasn't the shower on? Am I correct? Yes, the shower was on, and
Mm-hmm.
like there's just like steam and everything in the room and whatever, and which how dope would that be to have your own shower in your office? That's sick. That'd be awesome. But anyways,
Yeah, I think so too.
uh, anyways,
Wait.
she
I think she was just. I think because the doctor was sitting there, and
right.
the nurse was like, "He had a shower in there, did he?"
Yeah. When she walks in, the shower's running, and then she makes like a left, and then there's his actual
Uh huh.
office. And when she taps
Okay.
his shoulder of the chair, that's when the chair spins around, and you see him all like, and he's dead sitting there in the chair. And
Mm.
then you use the POV switches to her, and uh, and then we see Michael kind of like rise from the blackness behind her, which is just a really really amazing shot, and I'm glad you brought that up actually because that's another one that's maybe one of the best shots of Michael from the entire series, let alone just the 1981 film. So that's a good one, man. I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
It was definitely one of those moments that had him really peer from the shadows, kind of thing, as opposed to just being
Yeah.
a menace,
Yeah.
chasing after you or walking after you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My number three. So there's moments in this film, as you said, they kind of had to step it up, and I think um, that's natural for the evolution of storytelling. I think the first film set up this figure that is mysterious and obviously he's been stabbed in the neck, he's been stabbed in the eye, he's been stabbed in the abdomen. Loomis shot him 6 times, and then of course at the end of the film when it's revealed that he's gone, when Loomis looks off at the balcony, it's like holy crap, that's supernatural. And then there are things in this film that kind of hint at that even more. Him picking up the nurse with the scalpel and then dropping her, that weird slow confidence that he's got throughout the entire film. But my number three moment was him walking through the glass, walking through the door of the hospital once Loomis shows up. And Marion Chambers was trying to get on the phone with the state police, and Loomis grabs Laurie, and he just literally just like walks through the front door, which is just
That was probably
awesome.
like a funnier
Like,
part for me, honestly. It was like I think I did chuckle in that one, honestly.
well, I just like I logistically like even if you were to do that like walk into a door, like it wouldn't shatter like that. So I think the fact that the door literally just shatters from top to bottom and he walks straight through it, like that to me is another one of those moments where it's just like there's something wrong here. Like he shouldn't be able to do that and he is. And it's one of those moments where it's just this supernatural, like something is really off about him, and it's one
Called
of those.
ketamine.
It's one. Yeah, bro is jacked on ketamine.
Yeah.
What that? Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, dude found some ketamine when he was 6 years old, and that's what made him kill Judith. like, but 6-year-old Michael's like, "Hi, I'm Percocet."
I am Percocet.
But it's one of those moments that really pushes the supernatural thing like a step further. Part one kind of sets it up, but then there are little things about this movie that just kind of like nudge you even further in that direction. And I think him just straight up walking through the glass to the shock of Loomis and Laurie standing inside of the hospital, like I think it's just I think it's an important moment for the evolution of the character in this movie.
I think so. It's just one of
So
those.
that's my number three. And you thought it was funny.
I thought it was honestly like it was just one of those things that like after dealing with Ben, Tramer, and all the other stuff that he was able to do throughout the movie, it was just like sure, why
Yeah.
not? Because you know what? Because then we get the grand finale of them all, which is like my third favorite moment, which is pretty much Michael Myers escaping from an explosion just to be just to keep walking in flames. That one right there is definitely one that I really did enjoy as the movie was coming to a close, because it was
is that your number 3?
That is my number 3, yeah. And if I remember correctly, what was it?
I debated it. I debated that.
Really?
I did.
It was still it was probably one of my favorites still on this one, because solely on the fact that flaming bodysuits weren't very common at this point in time still. Too, and the fact that was it Dick that was in there? I think it was Dick.
It was. He's got permanent burn scars from the. They didn't take off the metal zippers, so they were. They were hot, and I believe he has like permanent scarring, like on his like his belly button line and like on his arms or his wrist, one of the two from that. He's even said in interviews that like other stunt performers tell him all the time, like, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen a stunt guy do. Like that, like you're insane for doing that, and like I don't disagree. Like that's pretty nuts.
No, I don't either. And it was just there's some other like fan art of the Halloween 2 fire moment, and they look just as sick as the original. Like I know the Halloween Kills moment of him coming out of the fire is pretty dope, but it's just the fact that Buddy was just engulfed and still walking as if nothing is happening. Is just it's just a true testament to just like how supernatural Michael was. Unfortunately, this was the moment where like he like passed out, I would say, right? Like he passed out. As opposed to dying.
That's the thing. Michael in Kills, he wasn't engulfed. He was burned. He was, I mean, flames definitely got to him, but it was patches. It was the side of the mask that had burned and melted. It was, like parts of the jumpsuit, or like I think part of his hand was, or something like that. Like, like there were pieces of him that were burned.
Yeah.
This was literally like, and Laurie's reaction to seeing it, essentially like, you've set up this crazy supernatural figure, and then suddenly it's like, you think, okay, finally, like, we figured out how to put this supernatural figure to bed, and then it's like, nope, he's still got more. Like, he is literally going until he physically, like, this body that he is in physically cannot support him anymore, which is just kind of wild. So I debated that. I actually the other moment I debated throwing in here, I'll throw this in as an honorable mention, and I've debated doing an entire video on this by itself, but there's when Michael first gets through the door, when Loomis and Laurie are in the surgery room, and Michael stabs Loomis in the abdomen. I
remember this.
I've talked about this before, but I debated on that moment because there's this look of like there's this look between them of like, why didn't he do more? Like, we've seen him kill people in all of these horrific, brutal ways throughout this movie, and he just kind of gave Loomis like a boop. Moving on. Like, like, why didn't he like slash his throat or do something like super, super bizarre to him,
Well, you know what?
Loomis is like his like arch enemy at this point, so it's like it just seems strange to me. And I know there's some people that have argued against this. They've been like, you're full of nonsense. Like they're what, like, that didn't mean anything. That was just, plot armor so that Loomis could finish the job. But like, I don't know. I've always kind of wondered, and I've always thought, like, I feel like there's a little something more to that.
It's just
like Optimus Prime. There's more than meets the eye.
I think it's just game respects game, honestly. It was just the fact that like it's just the fact that Loomis was able to shoot Michael like 6 times and fall off a balcony. So when Michael decided to like stab Loomis, it was like, that was a good move, but you're gonna die now.
Yeah. Michael's like, he stabs him, and he's like, respect.
Yeah.
Turn and go after Laurie.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I debated on that moment too, and I do like the "It's time, Michael." When he finally blows him up or whatever. But there's a lot of good moments in this movie. It's a very Halloween 2 is a very nostalgic. Like, if I want Halloween nostalgia, this is one I'll throw on. And it does. It has Halloween feel. It feels like the first movie. It still looks like the first movie. It feels, there's been edits of the two of them just like back to back as one long film. And I mean, you can't, I really, really have a lot of love for Halloween 2. And I know there's other people that it's not really one of their favorites, but
I think it's just because
I really enjoy it. I always have.
I think it's just primarily because it can't stand on its own. I would say it needs the first one, if that makes sense.
It does, and it does to a large extent. I would agree with that. And if you haven't seen the first one, part 2 doesn't really, like, you would be kind of like, wait, what? Like
look at Laurie.
What do you mean? What's going on right now?
Yeah.
Like, why is she crawling around on the ground?
Yeah.
So, but I have a lot of love for H2. So,
I do too.
Any word before we sign off here, sir?
Yeah, just remember to remove the zippers if you're gonna engulf yourself in flames.
If you are going to set yourself on fire, you probably have bigger issues than zippers, but like, don't forget to get rid of those zippers, Dick.
Safety is safety in all
you're awesome,
aspects.
Dick.
Yeah,
you're amazing. I'm glad we got to listen to you at Scarefest, buddy.
Yeah, man. Props to you.
So let us know your top 3 favorite moments from Halloween 2, 1981 in the comments below. We're gonna continue this series. It's been a little slow starting. We've had a little bit of a break from things, but that's okay. Next up is, you ready? Connell. That's what we're gonna do. My favorite moments from Halloween 3 are anytime anybody says the word Cochran. It's basically my favorite. So, but Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, that is next in our horror highlight series. We're gonna do the entire Halloween franchise before we dive deep into Jason Voorhees' disgusting, decaying, sexy body in Friday the 13th. Maggots, worms, disgusting lake water, algae, you name it, we got it.
Horny campers, just all them.
You can't have enough of them. It's just it's basically the entire plot of Friday the 13th is horny campers.
Pretty much is.
If you really think about it, kind of is.
It really is.
With that, we're signing off. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at LTM Podcast KY. If you have not already, find us on Spotify, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, do all of those things, like the video, go back, like all of our previous videos, all of those kinds of things, and join the YouTube, or not the Facebook thing.
The Facebook group.
What am social media is hard.
You got to answer our prompts.
Join the Facebook group. Poop. That's what I just said. I said the poop. Wow, I cannot speak. Apparently,
answer the props.
Doing this.
Tell us which dick is bigger than the others.
Huh?
It's gonna be mine. So answer your props, and then you'll be in the Facebook group.
I promise you, this is not what the Facebook group is like. We don't compare things like that. But, anyways, guys, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.